love it. I'm in Noah's world.
You can do this too,
I could, couldn't I? But will I? No.
You don't have a background, that's why.
That's right. I just like the natural environment, my studio.
Yeah, that looks nice. I like that.
Thank you.
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm always, every time I am chatting with somebody, I'm always like looking at the books on their shelves in the background. But this is funny. I disappear into the background, don't I?
You do. Off into the wilderness.
Do you have an Ignatz Award?
I do not.
You will get one probably this year. And you'll see, as soon as you get one, you don't know what to do with it. And then all of a sudden it becomes kind of a scary object in your life when you have one.
Brick?
Yeah, it's a big brick.
You know what? I don't think I'm ever going to get nominated.
Why would you say that?
Because it's so huge now. It's so, have you ever been a judge?
No, never.
Okay. So I was a judge a few years ago, and it really was eye-opening because it's so random who gets nominated. The process is so, whatever. And so I was already like, okay, so it's sort of random if you get nominated. But then, last year, I was like, I recognized 2 names.
Oh.
And they also, it's just a different world now. It's like, I feel like these aren't my people anymore. It's already changed so dramatically.
It happens
and also,
years.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I feel like, I don't know. There was Scholastic was nominated for a number of awards, and they're like a giant publisher,
At the Small Press Expo.
Yeah, I really understand the desire to win. I mean, confidentially, not so confidentially, of course. Oh my God, that'd be my hometown saying, here we go, we honor you, I mean, I get it. I've been there 5 years now, and it was funny, this last year I went, I was like, oh, I'm no longer a newbie. It finally hit me. I was like, oh, I'm established now.
Yeah.
And it kind of was it was a good feeling because it made me go, okay, I need to shift my priorities now, and it was sort of a good feeling, but it was also disarming. Because you kind of go there still as the hopeful, and you're like, nope, there's nothing more to hope for. Just keep doing what you're doing, Well,
what does that mean to shift your priorities?
Well, I think every show, there's a reason to do a show. I no longer want to do shows just to do shows. I think that's dumb. They're too expensive. You're not going to make a lot of money, so you got to shift your priorities. And SPX for me is the beginning of the school year. It feels like the beginning of the year of comics ahead, and it's a nice family reunion, and so many amazing people go, and it's just fun. It's just a good time, and so I go for that, and then to get all the new see what all the new books are. But so that's the I used to go to sort of network, and do that whole thing, and I just don't have the need to do that anymore.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's just fun to see people. It's kind of nice to not have that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
To be hey, I'm happy to see everybody,
Right. Yeah, everybody knows who you are at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's nice. It's just I had this moment where I finally was meeting, I'm not going to mention who this cartoonist is. I know it's going to burn you, but I was so looking forward to meeting this person, and I'm meeting them, and a lot of cartoonists are barely socially functioning, they're just very mute, one syllable, and I'm not, and so I'm thinking oh my God, I have to compensate and win him over, and finally I was just I don't need to be his friend.
Uh-huh.
And it was that was it. That was the moment where I was I don't need to try this anymore. This is,
Exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I past couple of years, I've been I don't really care. I don't really need to be I don't need to be cool with these people. I don't need to make sure that we're on at the same page. And I definitely don't need to be a part of the hip clique in comics. I just don't give a shit anymore. But when I was younger, that meant a lot to me, where I was just almost changing my work to try and appeal to whatever that crowd would like or whatever. And at a certain point, it's I have my own readers. Why would I, I'm perfectly comfortable where I am. I'm not going to go, I hope they like my work. Now I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like, who gives a shit?
I know. I think there's a difference though. Like I feel lucky that I came into comics so late because I had already done the like, I'll just publish whatever, I'll make whatever you want to publish,
Yeah.
And that's just a lose-lose relationship. Like, especially if you are an artist that has a vision or you want to find what that vision is, don't do that. Don't ever do what publishers want. Just find out who you are. So I kind of came to comics with that already being burned by the market, And so I didn't like it. It's nice to be older coming into comics because like I didn't have that sort of newbie, like I'll just be whoever you want me to be, And I think as a result, I've just been happier as a creator in comics, But I see young people do that all the time. I see it at like the schools, like CCS and stuff like that. I went with Chris Duffy, my friend, and to when they had the professionals day or like and you see like the kids are seeing, and I say kids, but like they're all ages, but they're new in comics, and they're like, I want to get a book deal. That's going to legitimize my life,
Yeah.
And like you're going to have to go through that, so that that's not it. It's the work. It's the work that's it,
But I feel like you really do have to like build your own audience, and then a publisher will be interested in you, like because you have to bring something to them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just be like, I'm gonna have a book published by Fantagraphics and then I'm gonna get an audience from that. It's like,
no,
they're not interested in doing that for you. Like you have to kind of on your own get your work out there, and then they'll be then all of a sudden you're worth something. Like then they can market you and stuff.
Yeah. And some of that is just like, I feel like you're an artist that trusts yourself. So like you are doing the work, and that's when people come and go, okay, you're somebody who actually has the muscles to do this,
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people have this sort of like, I'm a discovery, don't you want to discover me,
Yeah.
But that's not a long-term plan. And with the comics, I just feel like there's no money. There's absolutely no money. It has to be a long game. You have to be in it because you have something you want to talk about in comics,
You're not in New York City. You're in New York State.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm 50 miles north of the city. Yeah.
Close to Jersey? Or not?
No, I'm up in the valley, in the Hudson Valley. So right up, going right up in the center, but just north of the city.
Is that an old house that you have?
It's an old house, 1891.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
I know. That was one of the reasons we stayed in this town, which is like 4,000 people. It's tiny. It's totally uncool, But that's what makes it cheap, right? Yeah. So we could afford a historical house, which is totally what I wanted,
Yeah. And what year?
Yeah.
1950.
Yeah.
So one of the things that me and Dylan Horrocks were talking about was how cartoonists they all have like a nostalgia thing going on. They're like super into like history.
Yeah.
So what is that? Do you know you have a theory about that?
I don't know, but it's funny because I was thinking about this. I'm from California. I grew up in California. And so like for me, history is exotic. I'm just like, oh my God, it's like something in the 1800s. Oh my God,
yeah.
California just to me was all like disposable land. And of course now I go back and it does have a beautiful history, but I just was like, as from a kid on, I'm like, get me to the East, it's older, there's snow, I want all that stuff. And I don't know, like when I came to comics, I was like, oh, finally, these are the people who I'm supposed to be with, because they all like they pick through trash. My husband's like, please stop picking through your neighbor's trash. But I'm like, but it's a comic book from the 50s. It's so beautiful,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an aesthetic thing. I think there's a real joy in the craftsmanship of history. There's so much. This house, I love this house because it has old moldings, but it was remodeled at a point in 1960, and so our kitchen is like knotty pine, like the 1960s. And I love it so much.
I'm thinking like wood paneling. Is it
well, I mean, like in the kitchen, the knotty, the real like red pine wood paneling and everything. It's so fantastic. I love it so much.
That's cool. It's better than like a little stove, like a wood burning stove, and
Yeah, I'm not that handy.
a bucket and like stuff. Like, I mean, do you read any of like the old historic comic strips? Are you into that stuff or not?
I'm so into that stuff. In fact, one of the reasons why I was excited to talk to you is because I think you and I got into Gasoline Alley at the same time. And
Yeah.
holy shit, I love that series so much. Frank King, I have such a crush on him.
Like, he was a good-looking guy, right?
He was that head of hair. Come on.
Yeah, great head of hair for a cartoonist.
Oh my God.
One time, in one of the books, they showed the house that he built.
Yeah.
With his wife, like in Illinois. I can't remember what neighborhood it was near Chicago.
Yeah.
But the address was in the book, and I Google mapped it, and it's still there. The same house.
Oh
the little like stone wall out front that he built himself and stuff. It's all there.
We're going, Noah.
Yes, somebody just lives in that house.
I know.
It's
That's
like
nuts. That should be a landmark.
Okay.
Okay.
Fancy stuff, but yeah, of course. This
yeah.
is like the book they should hand out to every graduating student at CCS.
They should.
Like, here you go. Here's your new textbook.
Yeah.
I've had a couple copies of this in my life, and I've read most of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a really good memory of like visiting my mom's house in Denver for Christmas, and I just like everybody I wanted to hang out with was out of town.
Yeah.
So I just sat in like a chair and just read that, and it was like snowing outside really hard, and I was just reading these old strips. It was like the best Christmas.
That sounds like heaven.
Yeah. It was great.
The old comic strips for me, like if I get really blocked or I just get burned down to comics in general, that's where I go. You know, I go to some vintage artist and just start reading them because it's like a way to renew my vows in some ways. You know, it's like, I don't know. There's something about the old comics. I really love imagining all the cartoonists at our backs, you know, who spent years at a table or a desk with no prestige. Maybe they had money, but they weren't valued. You know, they threw away their originals. It just was not a thing. And yet they did it. They spent every day making stories and pictures. I mean, I love that. It just makes me feel like I'm part of something. I'm at the tip of that pencil, you know? Yeah.
Are you still doing your comic series?
Yeah, so I'm working on the next issue of Paper Pencil Life. That I'm working on right now. But that's what I'm working on. Stories for that. It's going to be the first issue fully in color. So.
Whoa. Are you self-publishing it, or do you have a publisher for it?
I'm still self-publishing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also love that, like, you know, Seth, I love Palookaville, the original Palookaville. Like, he serialized all his books that way, you know, so I could see that being a good thing. But I don't know, I like the privacy of doing a book. When I did all the sad songs, it was really nice to go away and do it.
Yeah. How'd that feel like when you got the email that you were nominated for an Eisner Award for that book?
That was a joke. I really did. I said to Jared, I was like, are you, screwing with me? Because it was so not on my radar. You know, I didn't think it was a chance of it, you know? And he's like, nope, it's happening. It was amazing. I just felt like, what? Oh my God.
Were you tempted to go to San Diego?
I did go to San Diego.
You did? Oh, okay.
Because I have family who live in San Diego. So I thought, well, I'll just go stay with them. And I'd like the experience of going. I didn't think I was going to win. But Chris Duffy was like, you've got to go. You got to experience it, you know?
Of course, yeah. So did you have a good time at San Diego Comic-Con?
Well, I went one day and I was like, get me the fuck out of here. I was just like, too many people. It's so nuts. I can't believe people do that. For fun.
It is so crazy. It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. It was claustrophobic.
Yeah.
So I did that for a day, and I went to the awards that night, and of course didn't win. And then I was like, phew, I don't have to go back and do a big rap. You know, it was just like, I'm going to the beach. It's just like, forget this. It was such one day. That's all I could do.
And they put your name big on the screen, and everybody claps for you.
That part was amazing.
Yeah.
I also have to tell you that something I was not expecting It's my only disappointment at not winning is that I was the second to last award. Well, you were nominated, so we were the second to last award. And I'm like on the East Coast time, I'm like falling asleep. I'm so exhausted.
Oh yeah.
And they announced that Wendy and Richard Pini of ElfQuest won their lifetime. And Wendy Pini, when I was 10 years old, was like a god to me. So to watch her go up and get a Lifetime Achievement Award, I just started bawling. I was just like, I just felt like, oh my God, I made it. I'm in comics. There's Wendy Pini, like accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award, you know?
Wow. Did you get a chance to talk to her at all while you were at?
I didn't get a chance. I have thought so often about writing a comic about it, like an open letter to her, because, you know, they just finished ElfQuest, and I wanted to say to her, like, do you want to know what like a product of your Lifetime Achievement is? It's me. You know, you are one of the reasons why I never questioned whether women can be cartoonists, because she wasn't just the best female cartoonist, she was the best cartoonist when I was a kid. Like, that was it, you know?
Yeah.
And to be in the same room with her was just so, and like, I'm sure you also relate to this. Like, when I was into them, I just felt homeless as a kid. I was like, I was in a real shitty home life. And like comics like that, ElfQuest for me was my people, my tribe.
Yeah.
So to see her there was unbelievable. Oh my God.
Wow, you should write that comic about her.
You're right. Okay, damn it, I'm writing it down.
Yeah. Do you have an idea for a new one?
I do. Yeah.
Have you drawing it or not?
I've been doing notes for it and doing some sketches. Yeah, I don't know. It's taken me a while. I feel like after all the sad songs, I don't know, you just go through a period of like, what am I doing? Who am I? What's happening? And then I started just doing, my work changed so drastically. Like, I was doing only black and white, and now I do all color.
Yeah.
And that has changed my process so dramatically. So I feel like it takes so long. I used to be able just to blow stuff out, all the, you know, boom, boom, boom. And now it takes so freaking long for me to do a page.
You're putting more thought into it, I guess.
More.
Yeah.
Way more thought. Yeah. So I also have to be willing to commit to really, you know, giving it time. It's hard. I'm impatient, so that's hard.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. I'm the same way. I'm very impatient. And the book I'm working on, I've been working on now for 2 years. And so it drives me fucking nuts.
The Mormon book?
Yeah, it's like, this thing's never going to get done. This is stupid.
So where are you in the process? Like,
I'm not too far off. I probably have like two, 3 more chapters to do. Okay. But I mean, there's like 12 chapters in the book. So I've done a lot. Oh God. And I have to go through and like edit the hell out of it because I didn't write it beforehand. Yeah. I was just learning and then drawing.
Yeah.
And then going back and taking out things that didn't actually fit, or it was just too much information.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I went along doing it. And now I'm like, I know what the story is more than I did. I mean, I didn't know what all of the story was really. So now I have to go back and like form that story. It's oh God, it's the worst way to work. It's really exciting. Yeah.
You won't do that again?
No, I will. It's just how I work. I don't have the patience to like spend like a year writing the book and then another couple of years drawing it. Like,
I can do that.
Yeah, to me, like I want to be like thrilled by what I'm gonna draw. So like I like to figure out what I'm gonna draw and be like, oh, this scene's coming up. Oh, great, this will be great. Oh, I can't wait. And like then it's all about like spontaneity too. Like you think of all these great things like on the spot, like oh, and then this should happen, and then you know.
Completely.
So, yeah, so I just don't like. I think Chris Ware works the same way. Not to compare myself with Chris Ware, but he said that he's like.
Yeah, I was shocked to find that out about him because he's so like anal, and I was like, wait, you leave stuff open for mystery? Like I just was like, what?
I know, yeah. He just kind of is going along, and the story is like revealing itself to him as he's working.
Yeah, but don't you find like as you're doing it, there's just things that you can't find out until you do them, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's like characters that you insert that you just like have a hunch, like, yeah, okay, I'll put that character in there. And then as you get further on down the storyline, you go, oh my God, good thing that I put this person way back there because now I can use them over here, and it's going to be great. Or different like little details that you just. It's weird how that it links up because everybody has their own style of storytelling. So you're planting little things for yourself to pick up later on. It's subconsciously, you don't even know.
So true.
Yeah. So it's exciting, but I just feel bad for like any editor that's had to work with me because I'm like uneditable. Like you can fix my spelling mistakes, but like you can't give me any advice as I'm going along. Like when the book is done, you can tell me what should change and I'll think about it, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
You can't get in the way of me as I'm working on something.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to get the work done.
Mm-hmm.
And then worry about who it belongs to or what. I guess I feel like I can't be calculating. It's that whole thing of like, I just got to be true to what I want to do,
Yeah. But wouldn't you hate that? Or you've worked with bigger publishers before. In fact, your first book was a bigger publisher, wasn't it?
Penguin, yeah.
What was that like? Was that annoying?
It was hard. Yeah, it was hard. Like, I think the thing that people don't understand, like the bigger the publisher, the less creative freedom you have.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have a whole marketing team they're trying to please.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're not interested in the artistic vision at all. That's not their priority. So it's not that I would say like, don't get a big publisher, but like, for some of us, we want to do what we want to do, and big publishers are not the ones to work with unless you're very established. But Fantagraphics is your home, right? Don't you think of that as like?
Oh yeah, and I like continuously have books coming out from Fantagraphics as well. Like and I have like a book coming out in the fall from Fantagraphics anyway. So
yeah, is that a memoir?
No, it's a collection of all the newspaper strips that I did in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, really?
All like the autobio.
I love those. Those are great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, right now I'm working on 2, 3. I gotta calm down. Like I have so many. My process is so slow that I have 100 ideas all the time, and I'm like, shh, like don't distract me. I gotta get this done. So I try to focus on one thing at a time, but it's hard. I have ideas all the time. I just don't have the time to execute them all.
Yeah, that's the problem. I remember John Porcellino talked to me about that too. Like he has all these books he wants to do, but it's like at a certain point you go, okay, which of these am I actually going to be able to get done in like the number of years I have left?
Well, it's yes. I think about that all the time.
It's so grim though. Like
it is grim, but you don't have to worry about it yet. But like with me and John P., we're just like, okay, how much time do I got left? How long does comics take? Okay. It's true though. God. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous of younger cartoonists that they have had all this time.
I'm not that much younger than you, Summer.
You are.
I'm 35.
Yeah, you're 10 years younger than me. I'm so grateful for him. His work is just like, every time I feel lost or like I just don't know what to do, I pick up a King Cat. I'm like, okay, that's right. Okay, thank you. He's a monk. He's a religious zealot. He's got to do his right livelihood, right? Were
you aware of like you were like a Riot Girl, right?
Yep.
And were you a part of like the zine culture back then as well?
A little bit, not much. I was a little bit here and there.
Like what about mini comics? Did you read those?
No, I didn't know anything about mini comics. I think if I knew about them, I would have been doing them. I wish I'd known. Like I think back on that period, and I mean, I'm glad I did the music thing, but like if I had come across John P., I mean, I didn't find him until 2009.
How did you find him?
A friend of mine put, I know where the Root Hog lives, on their blog. And I was like, who is this? And I read it and it was so like, really the truth of it was, I was like, you can draw trees like that?
Yeah.
It was so encouraging. I was like, oh, I want to do this. Like you can talk about really serious twee, emotional things. I was like, I want to do that, Yeah. And I think Map of My Heart had just come out. So like I found it at a bookstore and I'm like, that to me is like, yeah, that was the beginning.
That was how you got into mini comics?
That's how I got into like the the current scene of, and kind of going, what else is out there, and seeking things out. So it's been very recent.
But you drew for all your life, though, right? Like
yeah, I was always drawing. And I did, of course, lots of tape, cassettes, and all of the art of my music, and that's that whole thing. Definitely still in the do-it-yourself.
When you were making mixtapes, would you ever making a mixtape for somebody? Would you slip one of your own band's songs just in between, just slyly? Be like, let's see.
Feel charged.
I'm gonna learn how to play the banjo since I'm down here in the South.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna sit on my porch and play.
I know. I want to learn how to play the fiddle. That's my new thing.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Actually, I love fiddle music so much.
Wow. So are you into old music as well?
So into it. I was just listening to Alan Lomax right before.
Oh, okay, great. That's another cartoonist trope.
I don't know. I have no idea. I feel like there's some chip in our brain that gets turned on to like the nostalgia dial. Yeah.
Well, even like the underground cartoonists, like in the '60s, were like listening to old blues and stuff, and not just Crumb, like all those people. Like, why? I gotta ask. That's something I wish I would have asked Kim Deitch about. Is like, why were you guys all into this stuff back then? There was like all this exciting rock and roll happening, and it just seemed like they were just a bunch of nerds listening to like old records.
It's true. I don't know. Like for me, the old music is actually something I discovered. Well, I was already into jazz. I love jazz so much. And then when I did all the sad songs, I just got really into blues, and then going from there to all country and all of these places that I hadn't really gone. It's sort of, I don't know, there's something about it that's so pure.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, when I was making all the sad songs, I missed live music. I used to see bands every night. That was my life.
Uh-huh.
And I think the old recordings just helped me feel like a little taste of that. It's just in one instrument. I mean, for me, I was like, I'm not a night person, and that's a real problem as a musician. Like I love getting up early in the morning, and so like also as a woman, like I just age better as a cartoonist. Like it's just no one's gonna be like, oh my god, she needs some work done. It's like not about that at all. So this lifestyle is way more my jam, I think.
Yeah, for sure. That was a weird. Like when I would draw myself in comics, I was like 25, whatever, and I would draw myself as like an old, decrepit man. It's
something about, I don't know what it is, but it's like maybe it's a fear of not being relevant anymore, or just feeling, like aging out of the system. There's a fear of that just gets planted so young, and then it's all bullshit. It's not real, and most people are doing better work than ever when they're their 20s because they're actually healthy.
Right, but when you're a cartoonist, like I really think this is true, but like when the older you get, like the better your work gets.
I know.
Like if you're taking it seriously still, as you were when you were in your 20s, like your work is just going to get better. Like it's going to be richer, and there's so many examples of that. So I feel like cartooning is like one thing you really can't age out of.
No, I think the only thing that you have to worry about is just staying physically okay. Because I don't know about you, but like the stooping, like now at this age, I have to watch that shit. I have to be really careful. I have to stretch. I have to do all those things. And I think that's something that nobody talks about. I mean, now it's being talked about more, but like that was never talked to me about when I was in art school or anything like that.
What was that book that Uncivilized put out about that?
Drawing Strong by Creota. Yeah. She's great. I got her zines and those saved my butt. I mean, they're the whole reason why I was able to draw all the sad songs without any pain.
Yeah, I should get that book.
Yeah.
I need to make an Uncivilized order pretty soon.
Yeah, it's good. I recommend it to everybody. I think that should be passed out to every graduation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Better. And it's funny too, when you're younger, you're like, fuck it, I'm just going to burn out. Like it seems really cool. But
review is this long.
Yeah, I know, right? Hell yeah, I'm gonna be in the gutter, just like fucking, I'm dying down here. Nobody cares. But like, then when you get into your 30s, you're like, please God.
I know. I just want to be well. I want to continue looking at my nostalgic pictures and drawing and.
I want to be Gene Deitch really bad. That fucking guy was working till the end, you know?
Oh my God. Speaking of Deitch, so you read Reincarnation Stories, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it's his best one, or it's one of my favorites of his.
Yeah, I like that, and I like Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Those are my two favorite. Yeah.
Those are great.
But he, as an artist, like, he doesn't give a shit. He just does what he's going to do. He goes deep into it, you know? And I love that. I think that is the dream, is to not shit, just go deeply into what you want to do.
Yeah, it's true. And he's made a name for himself. Like he'll have a publisher no matter what he wants to do.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about that. It's like just explore what you want, and you know that you have a bunch of people that are going to read it. They're willing to read it. That's the best. That's like what success is as a cartoonist. Like,
completely.
It's just creative freedom and stuff. And I always think about somebody like even like Linda Berry or like Dan Clowes, like all that early. It's like those people just drop out until they're ready to emerge and show you something new.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what they're doing day to day. They're just living their life.
Yeah.
And then they just come out with like a new book, and then they do some interviews, and then they go back, and you don't hear from them ever again until they're ready again. You know? Like I really love that. Like I wish, but I think that's something you kind of have to like earn.
Like, yeah. I think it's also they're from a generation where they didn't have the internet beginning. And I think the internet's such a mixed blessing when it comes to cartooning, because like, you know, you can get an audience, but then it also just feels relentless and exhausting and draining. And like this feeling of like, if I don't produce all the time or show something all the time, then I'm just dead. Right?
Yes, absolutely. I feel that all the time. Absolutely. I mean, when you put like a book out or a comic out, do you ever go and read the reviews of it?
My God, I'm such a whore for that.
You're a whore.
I'm a glutton for punishment, because what you discover, or at least what I discovered, is how unsatisfying it is. And like most of the stuff for All the Sad Songs, I think there was only 1 or 2 real reviews. The rest were just, I had some feelings and I needed to share my feelings. And I was like, did you like the book? I can't tell. Like, you are talking about your own history with music.
Yeah.
But recently I heard a podcast review of it, and it was the first critical review. It was a very mixed review, and I couldn't stop obsessing about the critical things. This
really?
person had said,
yeah.
they said they liked it, but it was almost like it pained them to say that, because they were like, she can be pretentious and condescending. And I just was like, what? Really? Did you read that book? I don't know. And so I called my friend Chris and I said, hello, this is pretentious and condescending. You know
what the worst thing to do is to read the Goodreads reviews?
Oh, don't do it. Oh my God.
That's the worst. Never.
That's some low shit.
That might be below Amazon, I think. Amazon reviews can also
really?
Be brutal. Yeah.
Can't imagine. I don't even, I stopped reading Amazon reviews. I mean, when when my first book, Artists in the Office, came out, I read the first one. I'm like, that's it, shutting it down, shutting it down.
Yeah. Like Google or like Goodreads, it's like you just feel like a rush of like adrenaline when you see like a little image of your book, and then it has like whatever this many reviews. You're like, no, I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
Don't do it.
Goodreads is scary.
Yeah. Were you surprised that One Dirty Tree got nominated for Eisner?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always surprised and delighted. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like that book came out, but you sort of were on the down low about, you didn't really do much.
I didn't talk about it that much. It was a difficult. It just came out at a weird time, and I didn't really. How do you talk? I mean, what am I going to do? Post about it on Facebook and stuff? It's like all my family members are on there, and I was doing this mini comic. Oh man, let me show you this thing.
Yeah.
I never released it. So this was a mini comic series that I started. I did 2 issues, and it's called Dispatches from the South. And like it's about like my life down here with like Amy and stuff. So she kind of has to okay any like portrayal of her in here, which is fine. But it was supposed to come out from Uncivilized Books, and then they never published them. So I don't know what happened. It's this weird thing where like I did these comics and sent them to them, and they're like, okay, great, yeah, we'll have them come out kind of the same time as like the Craig Thompson comics, and that'll be great. I'll have like multiple things to come out and stuff. And I was like, great. And then they just never came out. And then like I got like an email from Tom Kaczynski, and he said like, yeah, it's still coming out. Like, sorry about that. I know I've been off the radar or whatever. Yeah, we're still gonna put this out and stuff. And then that was like 6 months ago. It's like, so at this point I'm just like, oh well, I don't care. I self-published, like I just printed up a few copies for myself.
Okay.
And that was, and I just gonna go, okay, we'll forget that project then. I won't pursue it.